Good morning, everybody. I'm September Jarrett. I'm the director of the Office of Early Care and Education, and I'm so happy to be here today with a wonderful team that really represents two issues and a coming together of community on two issues that are vital to our city and our inclusive vision, which is family homelessness and early care and education and strengthening families. I would like to say that, like all good things, this takes teamwork. And the city's children are everybody's children, and the crowd that is gathered here today really represents that. And there's probably three things in my life I'm pretty passionate about: families, early care and education, and basketball. And so, like our Golden State Warriors, it's no one person working in service of our children and our families, but it's really a team effort. And so my role today is to introduce a man who needs no introduction, who today I think of as our Kevin Durant. Strong, with a fabulous smile, who you can count on and always to deliver. He's orchestrated a pretty great play with his forthcoming budget proposal, and he's here to give you a preview of that play. Mayor Edwin Lee.
All right, thank you. Wow, that's a first. September, that's
Durant, huh?
yeah, KD. Now if I can get that contract. Go Warriors, go Giants. You know, that's the child in me, the child adult in me. And I'm enthusiastic today because we've all gotten together to figure something out that's been brewing for a long, long time. And I want to just also take a moment to thank Supervisor Norman Yee, because every time he comes in to visit me, we're talking about children, families, how we can do better as a city. And in between his meetings, I've got wonderful people around me. You got to know how valuable it is to have a member of the Board of Education working as an advisor right in my office. Hydra Mendoza, thank you for always being there, because your information constantly gives me an attention that I can pay to. Then you have, of course, the children, youth, and family, and that's Maria Sue. Thank you, Maria, because we have a broad agenda to support our families throughout. You got September Jarrett, who early education, childcare, consistently being the playmaker, if you will, on this to help. You obviously got Phil Ginsberg, who, you know, he must be really happy when people take surveys of services in the city, because he keeps going up. And of course, he reminds me about that during budget time. Then you've got these wonderful community-based nonprofits who are working in collaboration with the city, whether it's Compass, whether it's all the other groups working in foundations. And they're all working now at a very high level with Jeff Kaczynski, who is our Department of Homelessness and Supportive Housing. You've got parents and people informing us. So when we talk about this particular challenge that we have, we talk about it in the context of the overall challenges of working families. And I'm informed, as we all are, that when we began this Access Initiative back in 2005, we were taking on an overall challenge of homelessness and our kids. And back then, and we made a commitment early, and certainly I want to thank Gavin Newsom when he was mayor to have started focusing this attention on, and now he's got 4 kids. So I'm sure he's saying, this is really a great part of what we're trying to do, is focus on children, and in particular, those most challenged, children of homeless families who we know have even the harder time, even have a stable life, to be able to succeed in education, to have their families who are struggling to say, I want to go to work, I want to end this homelessness for us by going to work, but they can't do that without some help. And this is where we focus on childcare. This is where I think an overall perspective of childcare, and what I made as a commitment to the Women's Summit last year, is I would focus on childcare initiatives for the entire city and all working families. This is the first big step when we're looking at the most challenged families. Those are our homeless families. And so up until that now, we've had about $2.7 million commitment. We've covered about 170 kids, but there's still a waiting list of 140 kids. And so as we looked at our budget, as we talked to September and all of the collaborative departments that are here, we said, and Supervisor Asha Safrai, I just saw you here today, thank you again, because a big supporter of families, that we can end the waiting list for families of homeless children. That waiting list is 140 kids. It's about a $2.1 million investment. And even though in the thick of almost a $10 billion budget that looks small, I think the contribution is huge. It's huge because everybody would like to not have this challenge for our homeless children, to allow them to stabilize a bit, stop the ability to just go couch to couch surfing and be able to study and learn in a better environment. And certainly for the parents, that's going to be a huge contribution. So today we're announcing the elimination of that wait list to make sure we've got, yes, universal childcare for those homeless children's families. This is a big, big deal because it sets us on a course to pay attention to all of the needs of our homeless families. And I am so happy to make this announcement in the backdrop of a new facility of playgrounds while the construction of the old ones are going on. I think, Phil, this is just the perfect visual example that as we take care of kids, we blend the old with the new. We make commitments with our foundations and our friends to say, let's bring in the new, but let's also expand and cover as many people as we can. So I just want to say I am proud of everybody here working in collaboration, proud that we focus on the right things, and then it gives us the foundation to go out to foundations, to ask ourselves as government, to bring in more parents and people to inform us that this is the way we roll in San Francisco to help our families. So thank you very much, everyone. This is a great day for San Francisco. Go Warriors and go Giants at the same time.
Thank you, Mayor Lee, for your inspiring leadership and inspiring words. So carrying the basketball analogy a little further, there's no one more experienced and I would say more passionate about children's issues than Supervisor Norman Yee. I think of him today as our Draymond Green, the spark plug, reminding us, asking the question every time, sort of never say die out there for the kids. So without further ado, Supervisor Norman Yee.
Thank you very much, Coach September. And I really want to thank Mayor Mayor Lee, and also the Office of ECE, led by Director September Jarrett. It's really important for us to recognize without their leadership, we would be like any other city in the United States. Nowhere are they supporting the kids as much as we do in San Francisco. And I thank you for that. Thank you very much.
All right.
You know, one of the biggest things that families face in San Francisco is the lack of childcare, lack of quality childcare. And right now, we currently have 2,600 babies and preschoolers waiting for subsidized care in our city. These are the families that represent the lowest income families, families that need care so that they could get ahead. These are the families that we need to target. Today, this additional $2.1 million that we're talking about does exactly that. It's targeting 140 families that are homeless These are the families that are most vulnerable. These are the families where the babies and the preschoolers have unstable environment for them. And one of the things that I know, I worked in the field for over 20 years, that when these children, these babies and these preschoolers come into the care of either a child care center or a family child care home, that this represents for a good 8 to 10 hours the stable environment that they need, the consistent environment that they need. Why? Because this will provide the opportunity for them to grow cognitively and emotionally. Very, very important. If we're going to get anything done to break the cycle of poverty, this is what we need to do, to make sure these families have an opportunity to not only look for their housing, but also for those that are undertrained to get the training they need, find the time to get that training, find the time to look for work, and get themselves back on track. This is the most important thing I could do to help support, and this is why I go back to why I appreciate Mayor Lee's leadership on this. He understands this. We talk about this all the time, and he's putting some action into his understanding. Now, this investment is the beginning, like Mayor Lee says. There's 2,600 kids, babies and preschoolers still waiting. I appreciate what is being done today, but I would say I am like Draymond Green. I won't go away. I'm going to be a pester. I'm going to work with every department. Thank you for all these department heads that are here. And I will continue to keep on, making a drum and say that what we need to do is be a city where all these people that are on a waiting list will never have to see a waiting list anymore. So this is, I pledge to work with Mayor Lee. I know he's committed to continue looking at resources and to continue looking at solutions for this particular problem. For today, thank you very much, Mayor Lee.
All right.
Thank you, Supervisor Yee. I want to pause a minute and say, while there's many of us up here, that's really a show of strength of this issue. The Access Homeless Childcare program that we're here to celebrate the expansion of today is a true collaboration. There are so many partners and people that really starting in service of the families. There's homeless service providers. There's our child care providers, centers, and family child care homes. And there's our resource and referral agencies. Wu Yi Children's Services, who is here with us today, Children's Council of San Francisco, who make sure the money flows on behalf of the families and on the centers and the educators who care for the children. First Five San Francisco trains our early care and education providers so that they understand and warmly embrace and lift up the families that are experiencing homelessness and the extra stresses that may cause their children or the families, to make sure that the providers are educating the children with warmth. So it is truly a collaboration with many players. And continuing my basketball analogy, Compass Family Services is really the Steve Kerr, the coach, holding the team together, solving problems. When the count's down and a family's falling through the cracks, their team, their case management team at Compass really advocates and tries to find a solution when a family hits a bump in the road or there's an issue with a provider. So on behalf of the big, beautiful collaboration that makes this program really successful, I'd like to introduce you my friend and colleague, Erica Kish, who's dedicated her whole career to fighting family homelessness and really leads the success of this program. And with confidence, we can say it will expand successfully under her leadership.
Wow, I didn't think I'd get to be Steve Kerr when I woke up this morning. Very exciting. So we at Compass Family Services are very excited about this funding allocation. Compass operates 2 early childhood programs that target children from homeless families, and we have been providing the case management for the Access program since it started in 2005. So we see every day firsthand the impact that having versus not having childcare has on a family that is homeless and is trying to restabilize. So my main message is I want to point out that this funding actually has a double impact, more bang for your buck. Number one is that the actual cost of childcare for a family, for a homeless family, is generally more than their annual income. We all know that childcare is a challenge and expensive to a middle-class family. So for a homeless family, without the subsidy, it's just not going to happen. However, without reliable childcare, a family that is trying to get out of their homeless situation and do the things that they need to do to take care of their children and to become stable is caught in a vicious trap, in a cycle. They can't work, they can't go to school. Even engaging in a housing search in the Bay Area is pretty much a really difficult full-time job, and especially hard to do if you have to take your children along. This funding helps to get these families out of that trap. The second piece is that homelessness is a tremendously traumatic and destabilizing experience for any family. And it affects and impacts even the youngest members of the family. We all know that infants can experience stress. And we all know that 0 to 5 are the most important years for the development of a child. So you're looking at a child or a baby or even a child in utero who is experiencing all of that stress that their parents are experiencing with homelessness. That's not a good formula. So these kids are already starting out their lives with challenges that put them at a disadvantage to their housed peers. By providing this subsidized childcare to these children that are already facing so many vulnerabilities, we're able to level the playing field and help these kids to prepare socially, emotionally, cognitively, physically for success in kindergarten and beyond. I think we all know the statistic that for every dollar spent on early care, $7.50 are saved later on, dealing with the problems that arise. So when Mayor Lee was talking about getting rid of this waiting list, there are a lot of things that families that are homeless do not have, but one thing that they do have is experience with lots and lots of waiting lists. The idea that today we can say definitively that we're getting rid of this waiting list is truly going to make such a difference in the lives of these youngest members and most vulnerable members of our community for years to come. We are so excited about this news. Thank you.
All right. Coach?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mayor Lee. Well, I want to say I'm so inspired about what you're doing and what we're doing together because it's the right thing. It's San Francisco's values. I'm going to say my basketball analogy ends here because family homelessness is no game. It's a trap, as Erica described, and this work is really in service of the parents, the children, and the families to strengthen them when they face one of the biggest challenges a family can imagine. My hope today would have been to share and introduce to you a parent, Jackie Evans, who I have not yet met and I have not yet seen. So do know that this project and this effort is in service of families. Of the 150 families that are served by the program today, and those who will be served going forward. I really want to take a moment and appreciate the tremendous leadership by Mayor Lee in your budget during these challenging times, and the wonderful collaboration of partners who are going to make a game-changing difference in the lives of our families who are addressing homelessness. Thank you all for joining us today.